You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
Okay, we're on the clock, and you're passing time with us, a Detroit Lions podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
This is going to be a fun episode today. We are going to talk some national news. We're going to talk about our Detroit Lions. We're going to talk a little bit about the last 10 years of second-round picks. Bill's got some bullet points today.
Still got some bullet points. He's always got a little something to add.
Lots to unpack. So, rookie first-round pick, still holding out, and this team will not surprise you one bit.
Oh, man, I know who this is, and it kills me to think that I wanted this guy.
He was a guy that was getting mocked to the Lions quite a bit. So
and ultimately my crush. So if you watch the past pods, you know who we're talking about.
You know if you know. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, must-see cringe soap opera. New news on him off the football field.
Is he eating bark right now, or is he what's going on here?
Vegas has a very, very interesting take on the Detroit Lions, and it's something that you might not like.
So, are we going to win the Super Bowl, or is it?
Or we're going to miss the playoffs.
Ooh, all right. We'll get into that.
We're going to do a deep dive in the last 10 years of the trials and tribulations of second-round draft picks for the Detroit Lions.
I got mine. I know who I love that the Lions brought in, and I know who I despise that the Lions brought in. So, yeah, we'll look into those too.
Bill's hanging 10, man. He's riding waves of emotion.
Ups, downs. Where's he going?
And around the north, it's a little juicier this week, except the Minnesota Vikings. That remains pretty consistent.
We're going to talk about JJ again?
We might talk a little bit about JJ. As long as we don't talk about Trey Hendrickson, I'll be all right.
Well, I can't guarantee it.
So let's go news around the NFL. Brian's crush, Shamar Stewart, in a contract dispute with the Cincinnati Bengals right now, showing up to meetings but not practicing.
Which we can also get into and talk about Trey Hendrickson if you want to, but it tells me that there's something going on with the Bengals and they have some issues.
Let's peel the onion back a little bit. Can they even agree to this contract with a rookie with Trey Hendrickson still not getting paid as a veteran on the outside?
I mean, it shows Trey that it's more than personal at that point, right? He's outwardly said, this is no longer just about my contract. This is about the communication that we have with the team. He takes it personally when they don't return his calls or they don't communicate with him on what they want and how this is going to move forward. So they're in a spot.
This could be an interesting take, but they paid two wide receiver one money. And the way the cap works out, that's and they have a quarterback that they pay, top 5 quarterback money to. So they have some huge cap restrictions. The Lions are potentially, if J-Mo breaks out, they're going to be at this crossroads here in a couple of years, right?
I agree, but it's funny how one of our issues that we just lost Frank and his retirement, but his numbers come off the books, which allows us some flexibility in signing some of those guys, and J-Mo just may be one of those guys. And the speculation I'm hearing is that might be coming sooner than later. So, we might talk about that in future weeks.
I love it. Commanders minicamp news: Ben Sinnott and Luke McCaffrey are trending up. Marshawn Lattimore and Terry McLaurin are missing voluntary sessions as they do their best Trey Hendrickson impersonation.
Sure, but those OTAs, those mini camps, a lot of those veteran guys do miss those at times, but it tells you a little bit about the culture they have going on there. And we're going to talk about later in a segment about the Lions culture. So
all the single ladies, please stand up. Aaron Rodgers cannot stand up anymore of this as he awkwardly unveiled in his last press conference. You see this wedding ring? Yeah, it's a wedding ring. I've been married for a couple months.
Don't talk about it.
Is that an Amon-Ra ring or anything else? That wedding ring? Yeah, it's a wedding ring.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Quietly tied the knot in the offseason. The mystery bride is her name is not Brittany. It's Brittany.
Ooh, okay.
He clarified
He
it.
emphasized.
He's got an I in the end of it.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
He unveiled that in the Pat McCaffrey show. Draw a lot of attention because she's got really no last name out there. She's got no social medias, and she might just be buried in a cave eating bark.
Is she? Is she a real person? Is this a catfish situation going on, or are we? What are we dealing with here?
Aaron Rodgers, at the end of his career, might make more news off the football field than on the football field.
He loves it, though. I mean, that's all he wants. And did you hear some of the points that he was making as he signed with the Steelers? Oh, by the way, I'm going to probably have to take some mental health days along the way, too. So, oh.
Wow. Yeah. Travis Kelce, kind of same deal, veteran, skipping mini camps. Andy Reid's not super worried about it. Also, there's a lot of pictures surfacing. He's doing the Taylor Swift wedding tour and concert tour.
Of course. Yeah. Pairing up, looking good, and partying hardy. So,
I mean, that's what I would be doing as well, right? Like, I mean, you saw Zadarius Smith kind of doing the same. Well, he's not signed with anybody, but he showed up on the BET Awards the other day, looking like, I don't know, like he got dressed in a dark cave with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Looking good.
Looking for smoochies. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But also looking for a contract. So it sounds like sounds, and we might get into this a little bit later, but he sounds like he really wants to be with the Lions.
But Detroit's not desperate here.
No, they're in a good spot. And if you brought a Zadarius Smith in, it's going to be because you want some depth, not that you need a starter. He is a guy that I would love to have, and I would love to have that security there, but at the same time, I don't think it's necessary to have.
Yeah. Well, let's continue to focus on the Lions a little bit. Handicappers out there in Vegas have some interesting takes on the Lions. Right now, calling the Lions one of the best value picks in handicapping to take them to not make the playoffs. Miss the playoffs, I think it's plus 220 right now.
How do you feel about that? Do you think the Lions are going to miss the playoffs?
If Vegas is calling it one of the best values, it's a little worrisome. Do I feel, am I putting my money there? I'm a big hedge my happiness kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I like to bet against the Lions sometimes because if they lose, at least I make $2.46. But I think when we're talking about Vegas here, we're talking about the people that are peeking into the books of Vegas saying that this is an area where some of the sharp money's going. Fair. Calling it a value. Not that Vegas is saying like, hey, please take this back because we want to pay you out or we want to not pay you out.
But the Lions are still said to win 10.5 games. So that's their over-under, right? That's still a playoff caliber win total.
Yeah.
They are still looking to be the best odds to win the NFC North.
Plus 120.
Okay.
Right now to win the NFC North.
They're
plus
a good value to win the NFC.
Yeah, plus 450 to win the NFC.
So if you put those two together, it tells me they're making the playoffs.
It seems likely. I mean, really the over-under win total at 10.5 is probably the key there, right? Like you win 11 games, you're gonna be in the playoffs.
But if you win 10 games, it's questionable, right? Especially if you are not winning the NFC North, if you're the second or third team in the NFC North, which begs the question, is somebody going to overtake the Lions in the NFC North and then push them lower in that tier? Because you have quality teams, and you know the schedule that we're facing, it's going to be tough. And the NFC North is going to be tough. Probably, it's arguably right now the best division in football. And where are the Lions going to fall in that?
Yeah, the North is going to be tough, not just for the Lions, but for the other three teams as well, right? Like
that's fair. You putting your bets on the Lions missing the playoffs in 2025.
I mean, I'm not putting my bet there.
I would say I'm putting my bet the opposite, right? I'm definitely thinking that they're still a top 5 roster in the NFL. They are arguably just as good, if not right there with the Eagles. It may be even better than the Eagles in their roster comparatively. Um, Listen, the Lions have a lot going for them. They have weapons, they have defense, they have health. The defensive guys that were injured are coming back. The question mark is right now, the biggest question mark is the center position, right? And the interior offensive line. But you also have Hank Fraley, Hank, who is one of the best teachers in the NFL.
A lot of Franks, a lot of Hanks.
A lot of Hank and Franks. But he's the best teacher in the NFL. He's one of the best offensive line coaches that we have that is out there. And if had we have lost him, yes, the sky could have fallen.
Lions had a lot of coaches that were able to walk out the door. They got raises, they got title changes, but they made a big effort to retain Haley and give him an upgraded title and a bit more cheddar to spend at the bank.
And he's deserving. I
Yes.
mean, he is a guy that I think is necessary for the Lions to move forward. And because I truthfully believe Frank was open and honest with the Lions along this process, they made it a point to bring Hank back. So I think they knew, like, Frank is on this teeter-totter of whether he's coming back or not. We need Hank in order to balance that out.
We need an ink, whether it's a Frank or a Hank. We need an ink on the team,
Yep,
man.
absolutely.
Lions still, one thing I love about this team is building on the culture in very unique ways. So, exit interviews last year for the Lions, the single most requested thing was, hey, you got to upgrade the facilities, the locker rooms, and if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can see the walkthrough. It's pretty cool.
It is awesome. It is awesome. It's tough. It is gritty. It is like everything you would think of as a Detroit Lion. That's what the locker room is right now.
It looks modern, sharp. It's player focused. It's open concept. It follows a pattern of the Detroit organization behaving like a top tier organization.
That's going to bring in veteran players that want to be here. We continue to talk about those players saying, hey, Detroit is now a destination. It is no longer somebody that you would avoid. So
that's exciting for the city.
Yes.
The Lions have come so far that they are, the city is beautiful and it's a growing city now. So I think, I don't know what the stats were, but the first time in like 20 years, Detroit's actually increasing in population. Your Lions are a destination team in the NFL. They have the culture that resembles the city and people want to go see it. They want to be there and the Lions are investing into it. And the kicker is, for the Lions, it's not about luxury. It's about sustainability. It's about keeping the guys healthy, keeping them bonded. The concept here, it's an open concept. Obviously, people have assigned locker rooms, but they talked about meeting rooms. There's no assigned seats in meeting rooms. They want rookies next to vets. They want culture. They want note sharing. They want everything. And this is basically not about the 53 guys that are getting seats in the locker room, getting seats in the meeting rooms. This is about the 53 gritty ass dudes when they exit the locker room that they're playing for each other.
And that's what you want to hear, man. And they're not just playing for each other, but they're playing for Dan Campbell. And they're playing for Brett Holmes. And they're playing for the city of Detroit. And they're playing for you and I as fans sitting at home, watching the Lions on your TV and cheering them on, right? This is a culture that we can all buy into. I mean, I'm excited about it. I want to run through a wall right now. I'm not even be able to sit in those locker rooms.
It's about player retention, player morale, recruiting free agents to town. What's next on the exit interview? Like, hey, we want to win a Super Bowl is really the only thing that we want to talk about, whether we win one this coming year or we want to win another one the following year.
But based on Amon-Ra, it's Super Bowl or nothing right now, right? It is time, folks. I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready for a Super Bowl. I'm ready to be there. And I think that the players in that locker room, that updated, beautiful locker room, are on the same path as us.
So. Oh, man. This is going to be it's hard to go from that gritty segment to we're gonna spin this around a little bit, and as we promised last week, we're gonna talk about the last 10 years of Detroit's second round picks. And this was first round was a little chalky. First round picks are, I mean, you know the names. Some of these might be a little jogging to the past of some names that we haven't talked about for a while.
The last 10 years of second round picks. So who are you talking about? Like Tate again? Are we gonna talk about Tate? Or Ennis Rakestraw possibly, but I think we have guys like.
Well, we'll go. 2016, Ashawn Robinson. 2017, Tease Tabor. 2018, Kerryon Johnson. 2019, Jelani Tavai. 2020, DeAndre Swift, now an enemy. Onzarike, 2021, Pascal, 2022, Brian Branch, 2023, Rakestraw, 2024. And we're not going to talk about this year because we don't know much about anything on the field from 2025.
Somebody you forgot, though, is a second round.
Who did I forget?
Laporta.
Oh, Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta.
Why don't you get into it a little bit? Let's start on the good side of this.
Sure. The one that I would say, and I think it's still developing, but somebody that I would say is one of our best second round draft picks in the past 10 years has got to be Brian Branch. Right now, Brian Branch is maybe one of the best safeties in all of football. Right now they have him at top 5 in PFF. And I would say he is a versatile player that can come down and play the nickel.
Would he be a top 5 nickel right now in the NFL?
I would say he would be a top 5 nickel. He'd be a top 5 safety.
Would he be a top 20?
You might as well play running back. You can put on some skates and put on a Wings jersey. You can play hockey. The guy can do it all, right?
Could he hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball?
Probably. I mean, maybe not scuba's fastball, but overall, yeah, the guy can play.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to argue against Branch. It's early in that, and for that matter, Sam Laporta in that same year has, he's like, hey, hold my beer,
right? Sure, and those two guys together in the same draft class, and let's not forget Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell in that same draft class as well. So we've talked about the riches that the Lions have experienced in the past. Brad Holmes era, but if you want to get back further, a little bit over the 10 years, Darius Slay was one of those guys that I was like, hey, if we went beyond, maybe we went to 15 years, he would be one of my top guys too.
Yeah, the bottom of that 10 years was Ashawn Robinson, who was a very, very productive player.
And still in the league today. He was a consistently solid player, still in the league today, and ultimately productive.
Yeah, that same draft class also had, after Ashawn, Michael Thomas was picked, Derrick Henry was picked in the second round. There were some good players available. I mean, you don't know.
No.
You don't know. So that being said, Brian, what about a couple of the guys that you wish you could have a do-over with?
There's a few.
Okay.
There's a couple.
You want to start from the best of the worst and work your way to the worst of the worst?
So let's talk about Tease Tabor.
Okay.
So Tease, in my opinion, when we drafted Tease, I was like, the dude runs like, I don't know, a slower 40 than I do. And that was scary to me.
That's debatable.
But he did play in the NFL for 5 years. But the Lions cut him after 2.
Yeah.
And he couldn't cover a wet blanket. I mean, it was rough.
He had a little bit of, and guys have this all the time, but when he went to Florida, he was like a top 10 player, a shiny 5-star. And you carry that, you get the benefit of the doubt a little bit going forward when you're that 5-star guy, playmaker.
And you would wonder that after we cut him, the teams that he went to after us, that they were still thinking that maybe I can get something out of him.
Yeah.
But the reality is they couldn't.
So is that your worst second rounder?
I would say he was one of 2. And then we have Jelani Tavai, who was also one of those guys that he was still in the league today, but the Lions cut after 2 years, could not get any production out of him. But brings me to the question. Were we drafting bad players, or could we just not develop good players?
Yeah, that's a good question. Were we taking guys for a different system that our coaches weren't willing to kind of bend that system for those players?
I mean, Giovanni Tavai went on to New England and played and was successful. You go back again to that
Kyle
15,
Van Noy,
the Van Noy guy. I mean, and you're like, this guy, we could not figure out how to get
Wait,
him.
where'd he go after Detroit?
New England, right?
Where did our GM and our coach come from?
Yeah, New England, right? So we
those
tried,
turncoats.
and I have to tell you, like, I fall into this. I remember Bob Quinn coming in. I'm like, yes, Bob Quinn, the Patriot way. The Lions are going to develop the Patriot way in Detroit, and it's going to be the most amazing. Let's bring in Matt Patricia. Yes, let's get rid of Caldwell because he is mediocre. And let's bring in Matt Patricia and become awful.
Well, the tables have turned because the Patriots right now would be in desperate need of the Lions culture, right?
They would love a Brad Holmes or a Dan Campbell to roll in on their trusty steeds and change the ways of Boston. But they're sticking around, folks. They're sticking around Detroit.
Reminds me of like my high school reunion where, the stud athletes now, 78 pounds overweight. He's bald from here to back here. And he wouldn't talk to me in high school. He didn't have the time of day to like be bros with me. But you walk into high school reunion, the dude wants to like give you a big hug and tell you how he misses you. Like the tables have turned, man. The Lions are the standard.
And they're the program that we continue to talk about week after week. And ultimately, it's the Brad Holmes drafts. It's the Dan Campbell culture and coaching. It's the guys that they surround themselves with. It's the little things like the locker room. It's the little things like contracts. It's the little things like caring about all of each other and not just yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. Honorable mention, maybe Kerryon Johnson had a somewhat short career in the NFL.
4 years.
Now a coach at like North Alabama State University.
Sure.
Showed flashes, showed some potential. But I want to talk a little bit about Giovanni Tavai. What were some other options out there? A.J. Brown and DJ Metcalf in the same round after he was picked.
DK Metcalf.
Tease Tabor, Juju Smith-Schuster, who had a cup of coffee that he looked pretty good.
Yeah, a glimmer and I would say better, but
Alvin Kamara
not
taken after
terrible.
him. Yeah, not
but it's funny because the Lions did draft 4 running backs in the past 15 years. Can you name those 4 running backs in the past 15 years?
Well, I got a couple of them in front of my face, but you are throwing me a curveball here because years 11 through 15 are going to evade me.
So let's talk about Kerryon Johnson.
Yep.
Okay.
DeAndre Swift. We talked about him.
Sure. Do you remember a guy named Amir
Abdullah? Yeah. I think he's still in the league as well.
He is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say necessarily a feature back, but yeah, still in the league.
Yeah.
And he's not the worst. He's the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Jahavid Best, who 2 years in the NFL with the Lions and no longer to be seen.
Shout out to Chris Lalone. I know you're gonna be watching this. Big Javid Best fan. Called it before the draft.
I was excited to hear about Javid Best coming to Detroit. He's gonna change the game for us. He's going to be a feature back. He's gonna have that speed. He's gonna be all the things the Lions needed. Just couldn't stay on the field.
Yeah. Anzarike, Pascal, they've had a lot of injuries. There's the book's not written.
No, but
those guys.
But like Levi had his best year in 2024 and hopefully has his best year in 2025. Pascal is going to be hopefully a very consistent, solid player. Maybe not necessarily the high end, the high ceiling, but just like the high floor. So, yeah.
Yeah. Man, second round, there's just a ledge that falls off. That first round, I don't know what the numbers are, but 50 to 70% chance of really, really hitting there. That second round gets more to like 40 to 50% chance of really hitting, right?
All right. And we're going to move on to the third rounds next week. So
that's going to be great. Yeah. What's Bill thinking, man? Bill, we talked about, he's hanging 10, he's riding the waves here.
Just a roller coaster of emotion, right?
Had a lot to say. So Bill's goal points this week are a little bit more interesting.
So Bill has gone on tangents of there's no need to worry about Anzalone. To Glasgow is 100% going to be your center.
I like talking in a matter of facts.
You
Like
know,
that's
so-
good podcast radio.
And it's funny because I'm going to argue with Bill about that Glasgow piece because I believe that the Lions are going to give Ratledge every chance to play center for them. I think he's going to. I honestly feel like he is the guy moving forward that they want to take over. He's just got to win the spot.
I'm with Bill on this one. I think that they're going to go with experience, especially for the first half of the year.
Graham's going to play. Okay, Graham's going to be a starting center or guard for the Lions in 2025. I think he's going to be the starting right guard for the Lions starting the season. Ratledge is going to be the starting center, and Christian Mahogany is going to be your starting left guard. That's my belief. And I think that ultimately they're going to give Ratledge every chance and opportunity to win that spot.
We're also in June here, and there's a lot of coach speak going on. But isn't it crazy that Graham Glasgow is one of the most important Detroit Lions for the upcoming season?
Unbelievable,
Yeah.
right? He has got to have a bounce back season. He's got to have some oomph to his step, and I think he will.
Yeah. What else is Bill saying?
He's talking about Goff going out and having more control over the offense. He's going to have control over the structure, control over the play calls, and believing that John Morton is going to be solid. He's going to be better maybe than possible, the past coaches like Ben Johnson in this. He might be more consistent, and looking at guys like Scotty Montgomery might be better as a wide receiver coach than a running back coach. Tashard Choice might be better as a running back coach than Scotty Montgomery might have been. So looking at Randall moving over to the Bears might be a good thing.
It's hard to say, right? The one thing is they're probably going to have some growing pains throughout the year. So are we a better team week 1? Probably not. But are we a better team week 18, 19, 20 where it really matters? Maybe.
And that's where I want to live. I want to be a better team than I was in week 18 in 2024. I want to be a better team in week 18 in 2025. That's where I want to live. I want to live as I've gotten better going into the playoffs and moving forward. But the reality is time will tell.
Yeah. Reynolds, he had some love-hate there with his comments on Reynolds.
He did say that he hates it, but Reynolds might get cut this year.
There's a lot of people, and especially if they're still adding free agents potentially, right? Like that just creates a numbers crunch, whether it's a position on the defensive line or a position on the offensive line. Like they got to be deep in those spots right now, especially with a lot of question marks. So a skilled position might have to run thin.
And ultimately, like we got some pieces to back up David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And we'll see because Reynolds is still loved by Detroit, loved by his coaches, still is the epitome of grit. And, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. Let's kick it around the north a little bit. Okay. Thanks, Bill. We love your bullet points. Keep them coming.
We're gonna get you on here pretty soon. I'm still pulling him in. He's gonna get here.
Yeah, you're gonna love Bill, and we might be broadcasting live from his tiki bar, so that'd be a lot of fun. Green Bay Packers, big news just really recently this week. Jair Alexander is no longer a Green Bay Packer.
Oh, cheer for them. Sorry, they got worse. So moving on.
Well, they're spinning it like, hey, this is all part of the plan. This is part of the process. We're going to save $17 million in cap, but you can't hide that he's a 2-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah, the dude is a player, right? Yeah. I mean, he's not he's solid in his position, and so losing somebody who's solid in your position is going to obviously negatively impact overall.
Yeah. So the potential plan. This is a rumor, but the Packers have about 17 wide receiver 2s. They're lacking a wide receiver 1. So why not make one of their wide receiver 2s a defensive back?
It sounds great.
3 years into their NFL
Should
career.
Be fine. Should be good.
So Bull Melton is potentially transitioning to defensive back.
Probably
Bo,
starter.
you are
Yeah,
not Mikey
good.
Sammer still.
No, it's gonna go roll in there.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. That that reeks a little bit of desperation.
I would say that's gonna hurt a little bit, right? I mean, you're going from a two-time Pro Bowler to a wide receiver. Yeah, I would say that's gonna impact them.
As Lions fans around the North is really designed to like, what's our competition?
What are we
And
facing
we're
here?
going to face this team twice. They're also going to face the other enemies in our division twice. And we're all fighting it out for, basically the top position in the North or a playoff spot. So this is very, very relevant information that we lost the Pro Bowl center as Lions, and their podcasters were talking about it. And
Yeah.
it was feasting on the Lions. Now they're cutting a two-time Pro Bowl, a second team All Pro defensive back in a relatively weak secondary.
I would say again, the Lions are still the top of the North.
The Kings of the North, baby.
Kings of the North.
Elton Jenkins is at minicamp, but again, he's frustrated with his contract, wants an extension, and maybe this whole $17 million savings, they're going to pay a guy like that who's already on the roster. So net, that's a good thing for Lions fans. Mm-hmm. Chicago Bears. I don't know if this is coach speak. Hey, we're June here, but Ben Johnson said, hey, Caleb has still got some work to do.
I would agree. I mean, as simple as that, right? Like I don't believe the guy is a finished product. I don't believe that Caleb is the guy necessarily. I think that he's got a lot to learn. I think he's still young in what he expects of himself and of his team. And I don't believe he is a champion. I really don't. I believe that he is a selfish player who wants the glory but doesn't want all of the work that comes with that.
You know who Caleb Williams reminds me of? Aaron Rodgers a little bit.
Ooh. I can see that. Like the faces he makes when things don't go his way, the body language, I don't know, like the pointing the finger, not necessarily at yourself, but all the things that are around you.
Just kind of the quirkiness too, that
there's a lot of
they exist in their own little aura, whether it's painting the fingernails or doing dark cave hikes with Ashawana or whatever. I can't even pronounce it. Yeah. There's a few things that are kind of funny, and the whole saga with Caleb Williams with not wanting to get drafted by the Bears, wanting to go to the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers not wanted by the Vikings, settles with the Steelers. Aaron went into the league a little bit different, came out of the league or back end of his career. Feels very, very cringe, Caleb Williams-esque.
Yeah.
Other news, Bears, they announced the preseason schedule includes 2 night games at Soldier Field. Kind of cool. Not a lot going on with the Vikings. Again, all the reports coming out is they freaking love JJ. We're going to get into a little bit next week, but I think the Vikings have a top 10 roster. They just have the biggest question mark at the biggest position.
And it's going to be on JJ and the weight that they put on him on an NFL stage to see if he performs.
Yeah. So, injury news, Amon-Ra has been dealing with some hamstring tightness. Off season, had to clean some things up, and then
says like, hey, I had some surgery, cleaned some things up, but I would assume that that's no different than a lot of guys in that position. So
positive news on the injury front, JMO potentially, we talked about maybe gaining 5 pounds of muscle, but they're talking even 5-10 pounds of muscle, looking thicker, looking more like a stable wide receiver.
Is that going to be just that OTA talk, that coach talk? Everybody's the biggest and the best they've ever been. So, but the reality is you're hearing that from not just coaches, but you're hearing that from players. You're hearing that from the media, the beat writers, is that JMO looks the part. So
devastating news for the Detroit Tigers today. Jackson Jobe out for the year. Tommy John. Tommy John seems like something that every pitcher is just inevitably going to get.
Oh, and you hear that surgery, not only do you get that, but then you come back stronger than you were before.
Yeah.
So guys are getting it earlier and earlier in their career.
So Brian, when you and I were growing up, you remember the chicken pox? I don't know if that still exists, if that's still a thing, but I remember in my neighborhood when somebody would get the chicken pox, it was this inevitable
Everybody
thing.
get it.
They'd be like, "Hey, let's go party at Joey's house, who's got the chicken pox. We're gonna try to get everyone the chicken pox real quick." It kind of feels like Tommy John surgery is like the pitcher's version of the chicken pox. Like, let's just go get this real quick. Let's get this thing repaired.
Get it amped up.
Never again, and you're going to be stronger and better than ever, and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
And that's possible. I just heard a statistic too that right now the Tigers have better odds to win a World Series than the Lions do to win a Super Bowl.
Tigers are on fire.
Oh man,
best team in they had a tough loss today, but best team in baseball right now record wise.
Let's go.
Yeah, right along with the Mets. Cubs are up there. Dodgers up there.
But from what we've seen, and the Tigers, we can talk about the Tigers for a second, but Tigers don't go back-to-back losses. Yeah. So just like the Lions, the Tigers also don't go back-to-back losses.
1-800-GAMBLER, but put it on it. Hey, also let us know. We could do a 5-minute segment on the Tigers or something like that in the offseason here.
You want to hear this?
If you want to hear it, because Brian and I we can go for weeks on that.
We love baseball. So I just got back from Ludington, up north, with my 13-year-old son's baseball team, the Ribbies. Yep, a little shout out to you. And they got the championship in their league. So
who's their coach?
I know a guy.
Yeah,
I just know a guy.
Yeah.
Nice. Yep.
Nice. Hey, stay tuned with us next week. We're gonna get into a deeper dive of rosters, and we're gonna do a 1-to-1 comparison. We've put a lot of work into this. Brian's put a lot of work into this on the Detroit Lions roster, just 1-to-1 compared to the Eagles, who are also the standard in the NFC. And then we're going to talk about overall in the NFL, where they fit. Are they a top 1? Are they top 5? Are they top 10 roster in all of the NFL?
Oh, well, there's a little tease because I think they're definitely in that top. We'll leave it there.
Steve Palazzolo put a podcast out this week, and he breaks it down more of a national perspective. It was pretty interesting. We're going to talk about the last 10 years of third-round picks. These are going to be, I think, even more interesting because third-round picks, you're going to have some big hits, and then you're going to have some
swings, right?
Some swings and some misses. So we're going to talk about some guys that hit, and we're going to talk about a guy or two that didn't even make the roster, which is pretty wild in the third round. I'm looking forward to that.
Let's go.
Yep. That's it for this podcast. Thanks for passing time with us. Again, we appreciate you. We're on all the social medias. Follow us, like us, comment. Click the 5-star link if you're on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. That all helps us get noticed, get on the algorithm. Let us know some comments if you want to hear Tigers talk. Let us know, hey, what did we miss on second-round picks? Let us know if you want to hear more Aaron Rodgers content. Whatever it might be, be interactive. Send an email in. You can see it right now on YouTube. You can follow us on all the social medias. We're there. We're working for you. We're super fired up. So I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.
Cheers.